Honorable Dr. Anis Rashid Baswedan, Distinguished Speaker for the 25th ISTAC World Professorial Lecture, former Governor of Jakarta, Indonesia, and Madam Ferry Farhati.
Yang berusaha Dr. Anis Rashid Baswedan, Distinguished Speaker for the 25th ISTAC World Professorial Lecture, former Governor of Jakarta, Indonesia, and Madam Ferry Farhati.
It can be 20 words of falling. If you fall to the front, that's different word. If you fall to the back, that's different word. If you fall because it's slippery, that's different word. And if you fall because there is a hole, it's a different word. What I'm saying is that, richness of a language is important when you present it to the international community as an international language. So that is why it's important for us here in Indonesia and Malaysia to continue enriching our language so that we can stand up in the international community and presenting our language to the world.
Apabila beliau tersenyum, senyumnya sejuk, butiran embun. Dan bila beliau berbicara, seakan mutiara berjatuhan dari ucapan. Inilah the impression that I gathered of who Dr. Anis Baswedan is. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bakal calon Presiden Anies Baswedan yang sedang berada di lingkar Koalisi Perubahan untuk Persatuan belum lama ini diundang sebagai pembicara dalam kuliah profesional dunia ISTAC ke-25. Acara tersebut digelar di University Islam Antarbangsa Malaysia Kuala Lumpur. Sebelum Anies Baswedan berbicara di atas mimbar, beberapa tokoh Malaysia terlebih dahulu menyampaikan sambutannya. Salah satunya adalah Datuk Seri Syed Hussein Al-Habsyi, seorang Chairman of SMICORP Malaysia, yang membahas seputar keakrabannya dengan Anies Baswedan dalam acara itu. Mengutip dari ISTAC TV, Datuk Seri Syed Hussein Al-Habsyi berbicara dengan penuh semangat. Bahkan, jelang mengakhiri ceramahnya, Datuk Seri Syed Hussein sempat tak kuasa menahan tangis, saking ia terharu saat membahas hal-hal yang membuatnya kagum dari sosok seorang Anies Baswedan. Kemudian Datuk Seri Syed Hussein Al-Habsyi mengatakan pada pertengahan ceramahnya, "Saya ingin berbagi pengalaman saya ketika bertemu Dr. Anis di Jakarta. Saya ingin hendak mengirimkan undangan dari ISTAC." Selanjutnya, Datuk Seri Hussein Al-Habsyi menceritakan momen yang dianggapnya istimewa ketika ia menyampaikan surat undangan kepada Anies Baswedan secara langsung. "Pada saat saya mengirimkan surat ke kantor, biasanya pemimpin lain akan mengambil suratnya lalu meletakkannya di atas meja. Tapi berbeda dengan Dr. Anis Baswedan. Ketika saya memberikan suratnya kepada beliau pada saat itu juga membuka amplopnya. Lalu dia membacanya selama beberapa detik dan meresponnya dengan mengatakan, "Saya suka topik ini. Saya suka topik ini." Itulah Dr. Anis Baswedan, sambungnya Datuk Seri Hussein Al-Habsyi. Dan beliau bilang, "Inilah waktunya kita untuk berdiskusi tentang perspektif Islam." Dan saya sangat tersanjung di luar jadwal padatnya, ia hadir di Kuala Lumpur serta ISTAC hari ini. Setelah menyampaikan hal-hal lain, Datuk Seri selalu mengenang pertemuannya dengan Anies Baswedan. Sembari menutup pidatonya, tak disangka pada momen inilah ia tak mampu menahan perasaan haru hingga isak tangisnya nyaris meledak. Sebelum saya mengakhiri pidato singkat saya ingin berbagi bahwa ini adalah ketiga kalinya saya bersama Anies Baswedan sejak kedatangannya. Saya hanya ingin berbagi kepada Anda, seorang bernama Dr. Anis, dan saya ingin mengutip ayat yang ditulis oleh Imam Abdurrahman Ad-Tibai. Kalau Anda membacanya, ada satu bab yang menjelaskan tentang Nabi Muhammad Shallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Namun, saya hanya ingin mengambil satu ayat. Ujarnya disusul pembacaan salah satu ayat beserta artinya. Apabila beliau tersenyum, senyumnya sejuk, butiran embun. Dan bila beliau berbicara, seakan mutiara berjatuhan dari ucapannya. Inilah kesan yang saya dapatkan dari Dr. Anis Baswedan. Kemudian, Datuk Seri menutupnya sembari menahan isak tangis dan langsung meninggalkan mimbar.
Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome the Honorable Member Board of Governor of IIUM, Dato Sri Syed Hussein Al-Habshi, to our stage for delivering his welcoming speech. With no further ado, Dato Sri Syed Hussein Al-Habshi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. The Honorable Dr. Anis Rashid Baswedan, distinguished speaker for the 25th ISTAC World Professorial Lecture and former Governor of Jakarta, and Madam Ferry Farhati, yang berusaha Professor Dr. Amir Akramin Shafi'i, Deputy Rector Responsible Research and Innovation and Covering Rector IIUM, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and Representatives from Diplomatic Corps, Professor Dr. Abdul Aziz Bargut, Dean, International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, ISTAC IIUM, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, allow me to honor to have His Excellency Dr. Anis Baswedan, former Minister of Education and Culture and former Governor of Jakarta 2017-2022, to deliver the ISTAC World Professorial Lecture number 25. Indeed, his presence in this educational and academic institute demonstrates how our university and ISTAC aspire to bring together leaders, scholars, academicians, and civil society players to intellectually and scholarly debate the issues and challenges confronting the Islamic world and the world at large. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my gratitude to the International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, ISTAC, for arranging this lecture, which demonstrates the intellectual, educational, cultural, and civilizational relevance of the Malay world civilization to Ummah and the world civilization. His Excellency Dr. Anis' lecture title is very pertinent and opens up new horizons for all of us, not just in Southeast Asia, but also for the rest of the region, the Islamic world, and the world at a time where the world is facing many global challenges. I would like to share my experience when meeting Dr. Anis in Jakarta when I want to deliver the invitation from ISTAC. When I delivered the letter to Dr. Anis Baswedan at his office, normally leaders will take the letter and put on the table, normally. But this is different with Dr. Anis Baswedan. When I handed the letter to him, he immediately opened the envelope. And he read through within seconds. Within seconds, he responded, I like this topic. I like this topic. That is Dr. Anis Baswedan. And he said, this is timely. We need to discuss about the Islamic perspective into SDG that we are talking about. And so I was very pleased. Despite his busy schedule, he managed to squeeze his time and be in Kuala Lumpur and in ISTAC today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like also to take this opportunity to thank Tan Sri Zulkifli Abdul Rahman, Rector of IIUM, and Professor Dr. Abdul Aziz Bargut, Dean of ISTAC, for making this important ISTAC professorial lecture possible. I am very glad to see such a diverse group of leaders, dignitaries, academicians, scholars, researchers, civil society partners, and journalists, not to forget my colleague, retired ambassadors who are with us today, who are attending this lecture. This event will indeed develop a culture of academic engagement and dialogue among the various participants in our communities for the benefit of all and the Islamic Ummah. Finally, I would like to thank everyone again for their efforts, especially ISTAC IIUM, His Excellency Dr. Anis, Your Excellencies, and the audience who attend physically in person and virtually online to participate in the ISTAC IIUM World Professorial Lecture number 25. Before I end my short remarks, I just would like to share. This is my third time with Dr. Anis since his arrival. I just want to share with you the person by the name of Dr. Anis, and I want to take a verse, an ayat written by Imam Abdul Rahman Ad-Dibai. If you read Maulud Ad-Dibai, there's one chapter describing about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But I just want to take an ayah here to select this ayah. But it will not be, this is describing the Prophet, the character, the traits of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But what I want to register to you all here, there's a resemblance. If I pick this ayat, the ayat says, وَإِذَا تَبَسَّمَ مِنْ حَبْلِ مِنْ أَنْ مِثْلِ حَبِّ الْغَمَامِ وَإِذَا تَبَسَّمَ عَنْ مِثْلِ حَبِّ الْغَمَامِ. You want to know the description, the ayah, the meaning, I give you in Malay. Apabila beliau tersenyum, senyumnya sejuk, butiran embun. Dan bila beliau berbicara, seakan mutiara berjatuhan dari ucapan. Inilah the impression that I gathered of who Dr. Anis Baswedan is. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Sister MC. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. First and foremost, let me welcome all of you to this event. That is the 25th ISTAC World Professorial Lecture, IWPL, which is held today in main hall of ISTAC on the 11th of October 2023. And for your information, ladies and gentlemen, IWPL actually featuring the speeches by world leaders, prominent intellectuals and scholars, including ambassadors and also the thought leaders from around the world. And today, we are honored to have one distinguished speaker, an emerging leader in Southeast Asia, that is Dr. Anis Rashid Baswedan. And before I go further, let me introduce our distinguished speaker today. Dr. Anis Rashid Baswedan served as the governor of Jakarta for 5 years, that is from 2017 until 2022. And he's also the founder of Indonesia Mengajar, chairman of an Indonesia governor of a Governors Association, the vice chairman of steering committee of C40, where he is the leadership along the mayor of London and the governor of Tokyo. And was also the co-chair of the Urban 20 Forum as part of Indonesia's G20's presidency in 2022. So before assuming office as governor, Dr. Baswedan served as the Minister of Education and Culture of the Republic of Indonesia from 2014 until 2016. And for the period 2007 until 2014, he was director of Paramadina University, a leading private university in Jakarta, and he was Indonesia's youngest university rector when elected in 2007. Dr. Baswedan obtained his PhD in political science from the Northern Illinois University and MA in public management from the School of Public Policy at the University of Maryland, United States, and a BA in economics from Gajah Mada University. And during his studies, he was granted numerous scholastic awards, including Fulbright Scholarship from the United States, William P. Cole Scholarship, Gerald Marino Fellowship, and JAL Scholarship from Japan. So ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have him here to learn his thought and wisdom. In today's lecture, Dr. Anis will speak to you about the Malay world civilization's future and its contribution to global discourse on sustainable development. With honor and privilege, Dr. Anis, the floor is yours.
Terima kasih Dr. Ahmad Al-Muhammadi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya wal mursalin. Sayyidina wa habibina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajmain. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Raditu billahi rabba wa bil islami dina wa bil muhammadin nabiyya wa rasulah. Rabbi zidni ilma warzuqni fahma. Amin. Amma ba'du. Yang berbahagia Datuk Sri Syed Hussein Al-Habsyi, Board of Governor of IIUM, which has just delivered a very moving remark that touches all of us. You always speaks from your heart, not only from your mind. May His blessing be upon you always, insyaAllah. Amin. Yang berusaha, Profesor Dr. Amir Akramin, Deputy Director of IUM, Excellencies, Ambassadors, Representative from Diplomatic Corps, also the Dean of ISTAC IIUM, Professor Abdul Aziz Bergaud, distinguished professors, distinguished guests, deans, students, ladies and gentlemen, attending physically or virtually, all of you. Allow me to begin by expressing my true appreciations for the invite. When I received the invitations 2 months back, it was indeed an honor, privilege. The International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilizations is an institute that I value highly since I was just a student. It is the place that, my mentors, my professors talk about it. And books that was published from ISTAC is books that we've been reading all along. And when I did my graduate studies in the US, I had also the opportunity to interact closer with, later on, rector of IIU, which is Professor Kamal Hassan. I was just a student, he was a visiting professor, but whenever there is scholars coming into town, he made a gathering, and all of us, these young graduate students who try to connect and learn has always been invited. So we come to his place and listening to all these leading scholars from all over the world, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, from Afghanistan, from Egypt, from North Africa, people coming into his place and have these conversations, and we all just learn over there. So the name of ISTAC, IIUM, is names that is so close to my heart. And finally, I had the opportunity to physically present in this prestigious place. So I'm humbly honored with the opportunity. And inshallah, the institution continue to be the jewel from the East, as has been said earlier. And we all realize that Islamic civilization, so the Ummah, stretch from the very western part of Maghribi all the way to the Nusantara in the very eastern part. It is a civilization that have gone through centuries of ups and downs. Many lessons learned from our history, and many lessons to see how we embark to the future and how we contribute to the world civilization. So, you know, as I prepare remarks, it become too serious. I'll read some of my notes here, but I also like to share some of the notes that, you know, it was inspired by remark of our dean, Professor Abdul Aziz. The spirit of Bandung after the 1955 Asia-Africa conference. What I like to share here is, and I put that on some of our notes, is our ability in Southeast Asia, the people of Malay, to form gotong royong, to form cooperations, and to know limits of differences. And this is something unique of our land. And if I share some of our experience in Indonesia, when a nation as diverse as Indonesia, this is about more than 400 ethnic groups, more than 700 spoken languages, and we came to conclusions that we need to become one nation, and to create the feeling of unity, we have to have one common language. And the common language that was adopted was Melayu, Bahasa Melayu that was adopted. And if you are talking about numbers of Melayu speaker, it is not the majority. The majority of speakers in terms of ethnic groups is Javanese. But the Javanese did not push for his, quote, their language to be the national language of Indonesia. And the meeting was in 1928, 17 years before independence. And we didn't even foresee that independence is coming. It's still far away. We need to come up with the uniting variables, and that uniting variables was language. And they adopted Malay, because the Bahasa Melayu give the feeling of equality, give a sense of togetherness. When you adopt a different language, there is strata in that languages. And it was a decision that we are so grateful until today. With that, we're able to create the feeling of unity. But not less important is we are also create the feeling of unity with everyone of Malay in this region, the region of Southeast Asia. So we come to Malaysia, we don't need translator. You come to Indonesia, you don't need translators. And even at times of trying, when we are experiencing tensions, and sometimes tension started from polarizations, friction, conflict, and trying to solve that tensions, groups come together, have negotiations, even if it is a very rough conflict, you don't need translator in the table. You can speak freely, frankly to one another because you have one common language. But it started with the willingness to accept higher purpose, common purpose above our minor micro interests or purpose. And that was of unique in Southeast Asia. So, allow me with that as an introduction to go into some of our notes that, in the Malay saying, di mana bumi dipijak, di situ langit dijunjung, which remind us that wherever we stand on this earth, we uphold the sky together. This saying sort of captures the essence of the bonds we share, bonds that stretch back centuries, woven through our tales of maritime adventures, shared literature, cultural exchanges, and mutual reflex. It is a reflection not only of our shared roots, but also our shared responsibility. And as you see, the stories of Indonesia, Malaysia, and our Malay brothers and sisters across Southeast Asia are not the separate chapters in a book. They are a thread of tapestry, each one vital, each one telling a story of resilience, innovations, and unity. And that's precisely why we are here today. Not just to reflect upon the vibrant hues of our past, but to envision the patterns that we will weave into this tapestry in the coming years. And therefore, our gathering in this esteemed institute is a testament to our collective recognitions that the future of the Malay civilizations is inextricably linked to the broader conversation of sustainable development and global progress. And what we are discussing today is not just about policies and theory. We are, in a sense, reflecting on a promise that we owe to our children and the children of our children, a promise of a world where they not only thrive, but also recognize and cherish the depth and richness of their heritage. And as we move forward, let us remember that our conversations, our actions, our visions will shape not only the futures of Malay, but also the very fabrics of global discourse. Now, allow me to share some historical context in our conversation today. That history isn't just a distant memory or words in a textbook. It is alive, it breathes, and it continues to shape our present and our futures. And the history of Malay civilization, rich and resplendent, is a testament of that truth. We all know that centuries ago, while many parts of the world were still finding their feet, the great Malay kingdoms were hubs of commerce and trade. Sailors and merchants from our lands ventured across vastness of Indian Oceans, of the South China Sea, connecting distant shores. However, we need to note here that our ancestors built a network of relationship based on trust, not on conquest. And that is something of unique from us here in Southeast Asia. They barter goods, but yet more importantly, they exchange ideas, they exchange art, stories, and weaving the early threads of globalizations. And it is in the very southeast part of Asia. So, the annals of history speaks of our maritime prowess, but let's not forget the world of letters and thought, our literature, not only entertained, but imparted values, philosophies, and lessons for generations. The arts, from the intricate patterns of batik to the soulful rhythm of gamelan, they have captured imaginations, and they have told tales of love, heroism, and unity. And also, our system of governance. It is rooted in community, driven by consensus. And we understood the true power doesn't come from the ruling over people, but from empowering people. It comes from leading with them. This is the very essence of our leadership. That was not about dominance, but service. And that is why, if I may share, as I mentioned last night, we may be seeing impressive individual countries in other parts of Asia. Say, South Asia. You're seeing emerging India, neighbors of Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. And then you're seeing to the northeast, where Japan started 150 years ago. And then you have South Korea, Taiwan, China. This individual country impressed the world. However, we are not seeing the region being able to work together, because on the other hand, you have Southeast Asia,